Good afternoon, that makes a nice change to say that.
Well, that answers the question. Because this lady that was
Hang
there
on,
with
because
the... Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
Right, apologies for absence and reasons given, please, Jen.
We haven't got any.
Fantastic.
Everybody's present.
Right, minutes of the previous meeting. Everybody read them?
Yeah.
Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Agreed.
Honestly, you want to try it and then bring it to delivery rather than and it's a school account time as well. That's
Be up there, really.
No.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any declarations of interest? To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act of 2011 and to consider any request for dispensation in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in the agendaed items. Anybody got anything? You can also mention further in, please do. Okay, thank you very much. Clerk's report, please.
It's only really going on about vandalism. There's still odd patches of vandalism going on at Carter's Park. And also we have quite a few people that have allotments at battlefields pop in and see us about the letter that was sent out. Some of them aren't happy that they received the letter and they're not the people that are causing the problem. But after having spoken to them, most people are happy except for one. I think everybody's seen that email. That's it from me.
Thank you. Right, Carter's Park. Discuss and resolve an agreement, maintenance responsibility for Carter's Park Bowls Club. Well, this is due to the lease coming up soon, isn't it?
It's partly that. We do need to have more discussion in more detail, but it is more about there was a complaint made by
I remember the Bowls
a member
Club.
of the Bowls Club about the fact that the trees had not been trimmed, the bushes had not been trimmed, blah blah, and that we had always done them, and yet we've not been aware that we've always done them because it's not actually part of our remit in the lease. They are responsible, it is a full repair lease, they're responsible for internal and external maintenance.
Okay.
So it's what do we want to do with that. Personally, I think we've got a situation whereby the Bowls Club has become very sectioned off. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying that we need to take down fencing or open it up to the public, but I do think it needs to be more open so people can see through. So if we're going to be able to do that, we need to cut back some of the bushes and the shrubs within there so that there are areas whereby you can easily see through. It will stop any antisocial behaviour in areas, because currently at the moment the picnic area can't be seen from anywhere else other than when you're right on top of it, whereas if we cut back some of the shrubs you would be able to see it from the opposite side and see through the Bowls Club to the picnic area. So I think to get it how we want it, then I would be happy that we instruct staff to get on with it and do what is needed, and then when we have discussions with Bowls Club as to what they're wanting to do moving forward with their lease, then we can iron out who is going to be responsible for what things at that point.
I do think it makes sense if we do take ownership of it to maintain boundaries.
I did have a read through the lease, and as I was already pointed out, they've got the responsibility areas, so there isn't anything stopping them maintaining the bushes within those boundaries.
But how we would want to maintain it.
Yeah, so with the lease as it stands, obviously they are able to do some of their own maintenance, and I think, you know, if we negotiate that, we renegotiate the actual maintenance of that boundary. It fits in very well what Isabel said about opening things up. And a serious consideration is that they are able at the minute to maintain them, but they're obviously not being maintained. They're relying on us, so we need to iron that one out completely if we really want when we negotiate the new lease.
So discuss and resolve is to call a meeting between both parties.
Can I suggest that? I mean, they've made the complaint. They want them cutting back. We want them cutting back the way we want them. So my solution to it would be that we decide how we want them cutting back, what we want to do about opening up that area. We get on and do that, and then it's not necessary to call a meeting immediately with them because we've got a bit of time before their leases due, but we will get into the springtime, we will be needing to meet with them to discuss the lease and whether they're actually wanting to move forward with it or not, and then work that out as to who's responsible for what moving forward, because it's been signed as a full repair lease, but yet they are still presuming that we are maintaining a lot of things, and we have, with the actual building, we have done maintenance to the building in the past, but under the lease they should be doing it. So we need to iron things out like that when we have the meeting with them. But I would like to see that we get on with sorting that area out sooner rather than later.
Well, this is
And
to
getting it.
agree the maintenance responsibilities for Carl's Farm, Club. So your bits we can be putting on the work schedule, but like it says here on the agenda bit, this is to agree the maintenance responsibilities. So therefore that's the least bit, isn't it? So I'm quite happy for this to be put on the work order and start cracking on.
I certainly agree with everything Isabel said. One of my things that I would see happening out of that is that if we go in there and do a harsh cut back, which seems the right thing to do because we're trying to get all these antisocial loopholes out of the way, that it'll be too harsh and then they'll complain about that. So it might be worth.
We need discussion between.
Yeah, there needs to be some kind of communication with them. So we're going in. This is what we're doing.
This is the plan of action.
And you can join in on the maintenance programme. Because if we don't tell them and just do it, then they're going to be like, oh, because as Isabel pointed out, it is quite isolated. Whereas in the past it used to be open, so you could actually walk all the way around there, which is lovely back in the day. But I think if we just went in and did it, it might cause a bit of upset, as if we tell them that that's what we're going to go and do.
We can correspond saying, look, we're
They
going to come
know,
in,
yeah.
but we're going to give it a good head.
A good haircut,
Yeah.
and then we'll discuss going forward from there.
Yeah, most definitely. Can I have a proposal, please? Would you second it?
Yeah.
All agreed?
Yeah.
Okay. Discuss and resolve the way forward.
I just want to double check what we are. So it's to cut back the boundary, but speak to them first.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
As long as I've got it right.
to notify them what we're doing, not
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah,
we're not
asking.
We're
We'll
not
just-
asking. We'll just do it.
Thank you.
notify them what
Mm-hmm.
good haircut, and then we'll discuss, and be another correspondence another time about this. Right, to discuss and resolve the way forward with the slide. Did everybody see Colin's suggestion? Have we any progress with that?
We're waiting for you to all come back and make a decision.
I thought we did.
Did about a temporary repair.
Temporary repair.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was going ahead?
I thought it was agendaed to do
Okay.
the decision today, sorry.
No.
Mistake if it's incorrect.
So, to resolve the way forward with the slide, are we agreeing to the temporary measures in place?
Yeah, I'll propose it.
Okay, did everybody see, I mean, obviously, did you see any of that? I can't remember when you came in.
I haven't looked, but
Right. One of the parts team has come up with a temporary solution. We've got some concrete which is now exposed due to the mud coming off it. It was like a hardboard with the safety matting attached to it to make it a little bit softer.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we can get that sorted. Thank you. Right, this leads hand in hand with A. To resolve to agree to the removal of the fence around the old dog run, which I think will open up that area immensely.
This is the
Oh,
picnic area.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll propose that.
Because you think we've got a defunct gate, but then it just doesn't go
open
very
it all
well.
out.
Yeah.
Do it, yeah.
And
Yeah, I
that's,
mean, you're going to have to keep, obviously, the one side, which is the Bowls Club
Yeah.
side, you're going to have to keep that. But you can cut back the shrubs and things on the other side so that you can see through better.
which bit of the bowls?
On the Bowls Club, we've actually got some of the fencing that is part of the old tennis court fencing is the boundary.
Yeah.
So they haven't gone all the way around with that, the other fencing. That is
The bit I was mainly looking at was
is
the
the
one
other
near the
side.
toilet.
Yes, exactly. That's
It's
the
all that.
priority. Yeah.
And obviously it creates a funnel where we're
Yeah.
getting churned up.
Yeah.
I think if we take all that away, we'll have less churning up because they won't be funneled through entrances.
And
So,
potentially as well, the other side, as you go down alongside the football club,
yeah,
you've got some good substantial bushes there, but if you opened up an area so that people could weave in and out rather than, it would mean that they wouldn't necessarily always cut across one particular way, they would cut across several different ways.
this is it. It does all need opening up. And also, I mean, obviously, we haven't heard any more about the fence, whether that's being moved back neither, because it is a bottleneck.
I think it
It's
is.
very muddy when I went down there the other day looking at the fencing. That's what I'm hoping with us taking out this old fence, it will stop a lot of that. So, do we agree to the removal of the fence surrounding Dublin?
Yeah.
All of it?
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, looking at the base of it, it is concreted in, isn't it? Severely.
Yeah, but you're not going to.
I think we
I
take
think
down
if
the
they take
ground.
down the actual fencing and obviously cut down the metal and see what we've got left over, see whether it can be removed fully. If not, then you can make something of it to make it better if need be. But get rid of the actual
And I think that
mesh fencing first and see where we go with
oh,
it.
benches will be a bit more open there,
Yeah.
which is a good idea. So thank you. Oh, can I have a proposer? Second? All agreed? Thank you. Netherfields update. So I haven't got anything from Netherfields. Have we got anything from Netherfields? No. Have the signs been sorted out down there? Do we know?
Those have been done either over the weekend or today.
Okay, and the ones in Stukely?
Strictly they had to take over because they were welded on.
Okay, that's something. Thank you. Cemeteries. Discuss and resolve to decide the application for the memorial bench in Park Road Cemetery. So we've had an application, have we? So what are we now going to be doing about benches? Because we did put a bit of a hold on them. So have we heard anything about the other benches?
We've got to arrange a meeting, for the new year.
Can I just is there anything specific about this application that we should know? I can't remember reading it. You know, like is it because there's a memorial bench where they put it, say, on the public open area, than putting extra grave where someone's reserved? Is there anything unusual?
It wants to be next to a grave, so.
Is that going to be
Is
on
it
a
that,
reserved plot next to a grave or on their own piece or anything like that?
On their own piece, I believe, but when I discussed it when I sent it out, it said that you previously decided not to have them, so this was just a double check.
Yeah, I think the point being is that we know what complaints we've had where they've been put on a plot that may be reserved or it's just,
Yeah.
and then something happens or people use it or leave rubbish on it and stuff, so I think we should stick by the decision on this.
I was going to say, we've already made the decision, no more memorial benches.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to go back on that. The only way you could say if they could have a memorial bench is that it is on the public area, so it's on the side of the main walkway or whatever, but it cannot go next to graves because we've got to sort out those other ones, so it would be completely wrong for us to agree to allow them to have that, and then we're going to be talking to other people and asking them to move them.
I mean, we can go back to them saying that is our decision and see how they feel. Okay? Second? All three? Right, allotments updates. So, are we any further forward with the arranging the clear-up of the heat down there?
I've got a contact now, I found, left a couple of messages for that actually comes and removes rubbish. And then I found for another one advertising on Facebook, so I'll contact them. That's as far as I've got.
Okay, because while that's still there, then we're still out to it, aren't they? So we need to be seen to be doing something.
There was, again, reports yesterday came through, and they're now putting rubbish in the dike as well.
Great.
That came from a tenant. He sent a message through to...
What, the big main dike?
I'm not sure, I haven't been down to look, but there are rubbish bags, black bags, in the dike.
I mean, that might
So,
not necessarily be...
No, it may not necessarily be, but I do... We need to do as much as we possibly can, and I believe that the person that has been named by at least 2, if not 3 people, needs to be served notice, because it's not just one person saying that name, it's several people saying that name, and I think we just need to crack on and get it sorted.
Yeah, yeah. So, we tell them why he's been served notice? Because you have to give a reason.
Yeah, you can give them the reason, but no doubt they'll deny it, but
Well, several witnesses, so...
It's not on the agenda to do that,
No.
but there is
This is
another
the allotments
reason.
update.
Yeah, there's another reason that I can do with that.
Just in general, I wanted to just ask a question because obviously being new onto open spaces-ish, and allotments was always covered, etc. previously. When we rent an allotment out, do we give instruction like you don't dump waste and you don't burn waste? The only reason I ask that is because it seems that the little community that have allotments seem to follow the same or say the same sort of thing. I wondered if we gave instruction out upon the rental of allotment that you
We
do
haven't
not.
done.
No, because it's
We do.
Do now.
yeah. It just seems odd that a lot of people say, well, we do this, and then we burn it, and then this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, we've had a no burns policy and thing. I just wondered how that, whether it was a general habit.
I think all the
Of
allotment holders
holders.
now need their own policy, not just by email, because some of them down there don't do
They've
email.
all been sent out, they were all sent out a couple of months ago.
Well, by paper.
The only reason why I draw it up and speak about it in this meeting is, first of all, so it does get minuted, but, you know, over time things change. You know, the way that we dispose of things changes, and many moons ago I can imagine that sort of thing happening on lot, but burning rubbish, for instance, on near a main road and all of that sort of thing, and where there's blame, there's a claim type scenario. So I'm just wondering why that hasn't altered with regards to.
Well, bearing in mind the parish council used to down
Yeah, I just find it all a little bit, you know, it's all saying we've done that for years and years and years, but over the years things have become more difficult, and it just seems that habits haven't changed.
I was just thinking in relation, if there's evidence towards sort of an individual who is potentially the person that's responsible for this, if we've not given them any guidance as to not to do it until recently, is it worth having a consultation with that person directly before serving notice?
I think, because he's one of our newer tenants, I don't know when he was issued the policy. That I don't know.
Okay.
But if you think it'd be nicer to have a chat beforehand.
I just think if you're coming from the standpoint of previously we've not given them instruction of that they can or can't do it, and now we have.
They do know not to bring things from off-site on there.
Okay.
Which is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And that has been flagged up by at least 2, if not 3 people.
So,
I think, so Mark's got a valid point there, that it should be taken on merit, each individual case, that if it's a reoccurring thing, then by all means, but you know, especially for older tenants, they need to just be educated as to the new.
Would it be pertinent to give a warning before we actually serve notice, or would you, has he had a warning?
They've all had a warning,
Right.
that everybody has had the letter twice now? The letter twice? Or the
They had the policy reissued, and they had a letter about dumping, and then they had this
Recently.
last one which says that everybody will have to pay if they don't stop it, which
So-
everybody's received, because several have been in.
Does it actually say that there will be served notice if we can prove this occurs?
I can't remember.
I
Yeah.
can't remember what it said.
I think it just said that they would be responsible for the cost of
Yeah.
removal. I
Yeah.
don't think it said anything about serving notice. Like just from memory.
It says with regard to the rubbish pile of Battlefield's allotments, despite previous correspondence, this pile of rubbish continues to grow. Whilst we are aware of the majority of our allotment tenants respect the area and look after their plots, something which we are thankful for, it has become apparent that the rubbish pile has been identified as not being produced at the allotments but has clearly come from somewhere else. This is classed as fly tipping. It is costly to have to remove this rubbish, i.e. renting a skip and our staff having to load it. It is unfair for this cost to be borne by the parishioners of Holbeach when it is all because of a few people. Our proposal is that we bear the cost of removing the rubbish this once. If the pile comes back, we will have no alternative but to invoice each allotment holder proportionally for the costs involved.
But
So,
it doesn't say
No.
specifically that they face being served with notice.
but on their terms of agreement, have we got on there the clauses what we say this would lead to your termination?
It's difficult because it's the policy as well. You've got to, let's have a look. I'm just trying to. I don't know whether it was.
Or would it be better to get the individual in and say that I've got witnesses?
I was just going to say, it, you know, from if you're looking from the outside in perspective, if you've got 50 people down there and there's 2 people doing it, you know, having a group approach of 50 people's going to pay for it when 2 people are responsible. I think it's more beneficial to go directly to the 2 people who we've been notified that are doing it, so we can try and stamp it out at that point sooner than, you know, sort of like laying that pain over 50 people instead of the 2 responsible personally. But
See, our other avenue was obviously eliminating the problem. But that might not, because they know where to go. They could come back even if they haven't got the allotment there.
Maybe we should just stick to what we've agreed, because short, sharp shock and all that, it will actually put a good message out there to say it won't be tolerated, you know, and especially people who have been warned and they've had a few letters about problems and they're adding to the problems. It might be better just to do this one and give a good message.
Excuse me,
I do just wonder that if you invoice 50 people, then you're not going to get your whistleblowers anymore, because they won't want to be invoiced again, will they?
Not just that, it's how we're going to, if they choose
How
not
you
to pay,
can recover the money, yeah.
you know, we can't chase the money, because it'll cost more in the long run. So stick with our original agreement.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think if what I would say is that we've obviously got the outstanding rents that will need to be dealt with as of January, as soon as they come back after Christmas. So that will be dealt with. Then at our first open spaces meeting, we can have a report back on what the situation is with that, and then if we haven't scheduled the work in by that point, we'll then have a date whereby it's going to be scheduled in. We can then let the allotment holders know that it's going to be cleared on X date or whatever, and after that date, if there's any more occurrences, then they'll be told yet again that it's the same process, and then it's, you know, it's partly up to them to police it themselves ultimately. And if they know who's doing it, they need to be telling us who's doing it.
Well, I mean, we also know people drive about at night just
Yes,
walking.
absolutely,
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
can't
we do.
stop that, unfortunately. There is no way of stopping
But I
it.
mean, this isn't general stuff, it is garden stuff, so we know it's coming. Yeah. So, excuse me, so we stick to our original agreement, and then obviously discuss the allotments again come January. Okay. So, proposer?
No, can't, because
What,
it's
just
not
send it out?
agenda.
Well,
It's not an agenda item.
Yeah, it says allotments update, and this is an update of what we're doing.
But it's not an agenda item.
So
you
how
can't
can we send this letter out?
There is a
Already
way,
sent
but
it.
I can't disclose that right this minute.
So what was the point of putting allotments update? If we're not doing anything with it.
You asked me to put update on all the things that
I haven't asked anything. So, right, well, we'll have to do it your way round and let me know. Same again with the nature reserve update. So, anything on that?
I did send a document out which was all about duck feed machines. I hope everyone read it and had a look. It was really interesting of what another borough has done. The last meeting was aware that the duck feed machine was going to be removed, but I have now been told that it has had a temporary repair and is still there. So I've not really put my foot on the gas with regards to looking for something at the moment, but there's some good ideas in there. But the most important content of that report, if everyone read it, was the fact of the maintenance upkeep schedule and the ongoing cost, not just of the food, but making sure that it's looked after, filled, dried when it's done, blah, 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 blah. It was a very good document, but as I said, up to now, because the machine's still in situ, I haven't actually done any costings or looked at any machines because ours is still working.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody got anything else on the nature reserve? No? Okay, thank you.
Only just to say there were 2 ducks on there this morning and a load of gulls. No, you can't do anything about the gulls.
That's the nature reserve all's well. Okay, to discuss and resolve to recommend full council the position regarding to the beacon. Is that owned by the Observer Corps? I know it's
Are we talking about the area, the whole area?
Oh, okay.
So, my understanding is that obviously it is not ours, it is district council. What we're trying to establish is what, if anything, has been agreed with District Council, because from the very day that we first started cutting it, we've never had a penny from District Council to help with the cost of doing that. And quite frankly, we are all struggling for cash nowadays. They are, we are, everybody else is. And if it's not ours, I'm not saying we don't maintain it, but I do think we need to go back to them and say, excuse me, but we've been doing this for so many years and you've never once given us anything towards it. We are now formally requesting that you give us a contribution towards our costs.
So, right,
Can I just ask, have we had an update from District with regards to the repairs that they authorised to the beacon? Have they been done? Are they being done? When they're being done? Because we need that ready for the Jubilee.
We've been told it's in the process of being done and will be ready for the Jubilee.
Yeah, we need to make sure that that is the case. So we need an update really from District.
we do all that at the same time. So, propose that we correspond with District,
Yeah.
second, agreed? To resolve to sign to accept responsibility for the planters on Market Hill from LCC. Have you had some more correspondence from them?
The one that's in the drive, which is, it says to erect a structure, but in actual fact it's the paperwork to take them over.
Okay, do they take out the railings in it?
No,
No,
they must it on.
Right,
as
so,
far as my interpretation of the whole document was the whole lot.
Yeah, that's what they're asking us to do.
Yeah, and that's the planters on the railings.
and the big plant.
The big planters by the board. And I presume because it's saying Market Hill, it'll include the long staff planters as well. It'll be them all.
Right. Do we want responsibility for it all? That's the thing. So,
I mean, trying to get them to actually understand what you're asking for is like pulling teeth. So, quite frankly, if it means we can actually get something done, then I would suggest we just say, okay, let's sign that and say we're responsible for it. Then that means that we can actually physically move some of those planters on the railings if we so desire. We don't have to leave them there. If we feel that they are obscuring views or whatever, we can have less of them on there, or however we see fit, and make it work for us. The issue is that there is potentially all going to change anyhow if plans that are afoot actually go ahead. So I just feel that if we keep going back to them and saying, oh, but we want that taken out and we want that, we're never going to get anywhere. We're going to be 6 months down the line and they're still not going to have done it because they don't seem to get the basis of what we're actually asking for.
do we want the responsibility of the planters anyway?
Which is the big ones, yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Why?
Well, who else is going to do it, Rachel? Quite frankly,
Well,
are you going to get LCC to come down there and plant those planters? No, you're not. So what we're going to do? Yeah, but that's the whole point. They've been planted, and we want to be responsible for them and make sure that they don't just deteriorate completely. Yes, they'll be left, but if they need any looking after, if they need weeding or whatever, we can do that, can't we? Because they're not going to come down and do
Oh,
it.
I know that.
I would just say my comment on the whole thing would be to take responsibility of them all, and then see how the relationship goes with the gardening club, because that eradicate planting problems. If they don't, it gives us an opportunity to be in control of them, like Isabel's quite rightfully pointed out. I think we should just go ahead and do it.
Is it, I mean, you've probably tried it all before, is it possible to get businesses to sponsor one or two of them? I don't mean that they do the work, but that they could contribute to the planting of financially.
that was discussed at the meeting that we had with the public, and we are going to be going out to individual businesses to look at doing that. I think from the point, I understand what Rachel's saying. I mean, obviously, if we are responsible for them, then that means that that's the upkeep of them, etc., etc. But if we're going down the sustainable route, which we are, and the way that they are currently planted up, that it is just weeding and replacing any plants as and when, if any of them get, you know, they die or whatever. It's not going to be constantly planting every season. It is there, it's going to stay there, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's such a focal point. If we don't do it,
Yeah.
nobody's going to do it. And, you know,
It lights up the town.
it's
at
got
that
to be,
season.
it's
It
got
does.
to be something that is going to be attractive in that area. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. We've got to do it.
Sorry,
Sorry.
the gardening club you're talking about, is that Holbeach Horticultural Society or is it a separate entity?
It's a new group being formed to take over some of the work that the England group previously did, I
'Cause
believe.
Did you know that there is a horticultural society in town?
Yeah.
And they're quite active, whether they'd like to get involved.
Yeah, well, it's something that we're looking at, trying to encourage
I
different
do
groups
know-
with things.
One of the ladies who's on the committee, do you want me to contact her and just see, or shall it be done formally through?
It'd be best to go through the gardening group and see if they'll work together.
Oh, okay.
But let's get to, we're agreeing to sign the responsibility for the park in Market Hill.
Yeah.
Okay? Are we agreeing to sign responsibility?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a proposer? Seconder? I agree. So we'll sign as well. Thank you. To resolve to agree to add to the work schedule the cutting of the hedge at Albert St John's War Memorial. Okay? And so this is to go for our gentlemen to do on our work schedule. Anybody got any input or disagree with us taking this over?
It's our area, it's our area.
Yeah.
We should have been doing it, shouldn't we?
Should we?
I mean, obviously, if the volunteer that's down there has already done it or whatever, at whatever point, we'll just schedule it in when it looks like it needs to be done.
I'd like to work with the gentleman down there because he's done some brilliant work over the years, and I just don't want us to come in steamrolling and taking it over, because he takes a lot of pride and joy and enjoys doing that area himself.
He's asked for us to do.
That's brilliant. As long as there's correspondence with him, that's brilliant. They just need some assistance. So that will be going on our work schedule then for hedge cutting.
If I could just add there, as long as we observe the DEFRA rules
Yeah.
about hedge cutting.
Proposal? Second? All agreed? Thank you. If we can correspond with the gentleman to say, yeah, we're going to help out. Thank you. And to resolve and agree next month's work schedule. So we're now around to January, quite scary.
God.
Has anybody got any things they would like putting in? I've got a couple. Anybody?
Bowls Club, obviously, we
Yeah.
need to add that in.
Is that a red list job?
Yeah. And the picnic area fencing.
Yeah. I mean, is that more ambery?
Yeah, I would do amber.
Yeah. Mine's a bit of a green one.
Really?
Always. Okay.
Oops, wasn't
You
a
right?
mistake, yes, right. Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the, obviously in the totty area, the little people, the springy stuff really needs good clean and paint up.
That was flagged up on the inspection
Yeah.
report, so it is
It
It
needs
is
doing.
part of the schedule, but it hasn't been put onto our work schedule formally.
Do we
so-
need to be going to finances? Obviously paint. I don't know what we've got in stock, because I can't remember anything being mentioned about paint in stock.
There is some paint in the pavilion, but what there is, I don't know.
No. but it's really looking tatty. And bearing in mind that the plan inspection was quite a few months ago, does need doing. And it's a winter job, isn't it?
Is this in Carter's Park?
Yes, it is.
It's about to be done again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So some of these jobs need to be done, really. And also, the soft closed hatch on the locked gate into the children's area, that hasn't been done.
No.
That needs doing.
Inspection work.
You've gone brick.
You want plan inspection works in red?
Well, no, we said green because obviously we need to open up this area.
You've got enough time before we need to do
Obviously, if
it.
it's a wet day, then we can remove some bits
Do you
and
want,
get them painted.
do you want the soft closure in what colour?
That can go green because obviously it's not being used as much at the moment during the winter months, but it's something that does need addressing. It's a long walk round if your kid falls over or you've got another kid in the other area.
Do you want me to read out each one, just
Yes,
to make
please.
sure? So, in on the red list is Bowls Club Hedge, Hedges Park Road, Slide Carter's Park.
Can I just put in the hedges down Park Road, the Park Lane side, we're not taking them back too much, are we? And underneath. I'm a bit worried about our wildlife down there and creating gaps.
The Hedges Park Road is the ones
Park
that...
Lane, that side.
Yeah, but the work schedule one is the one that is bound,
The other side.
yeah, it's the one behind the bungalow and stuff that we did when we visited
That
the
was the agreement.
residents, it was that one. And then also the one that borders the back of the tenters,
Yeah,
because they're slightly different ones and they just need a bit of a trim up.
yeah.
But yeah.
Looking at the work they've already been doing down there, they're clearing it really well.
Mm.
But to keep that Park Lane side a bit more lower to the ground for our furry friends, please. Sorry.
Sorry, we've got to Slide Carter's Park, Carter's Park trees along Park Road,
Yeah.
all sides, sorry.
Have we found out about whether we need an order to shut that footpath?
No.
Because that's, if we do, we're going to have to get that first.
I think the team said that they were confident they could do it from within the park, but all sites either remove signs saying CCTV or take over. That hopefully has now been completed. Stockley has been done. Just the continual maintenance on Park Road Cemetery. The chipping is ongoing and risk assessments and paperwork is ongoing. On Amber is Gate, weeding, pallias, memorial garden tidy, prune all trees, picnic area fencing, and that's Carter's Park. Reduce the rose bed in size. The nature reserve is a general tidy up and bird boxes. Netherfield is running track, mark out football pitch.
Can we change that one, Netherfield?
Mm-hmm.
Because the trees will need to be first. Because they're being delivered in January.
Netherfield trees.
And then we can then put back in the whole idea of the running track, etc. once we've got them in position.
So the green list is the battlefields, rubbish pile, measuring out the allotment sites, which is ongoing, any grass cutting that needs doing. Cedar in Park Road is waiting for chainsaw training. Play inspection works, has just been put on, and soft closure to the gate where the play equipment is in Carter's Park. That's 3-1.
I think we might need a bit of a top up of grass cutting down at Foregate Cemetery. It's getting long now. So I think that needs to be in. Can we go amber with that one? Because it's if and when required, but it's going to need doing soon. Especially if we keep saying mould. I haven't been and looked at Neverfields, but I showed us.
Is everybody happy with that?
Well, just, do we know when the last cut was in Post Churchyard?
That would have been the last weekend in November.
Yeah, because under one of the trees, that is scalped. Don't know if you can see it from your office window. It looks like a massive brown circle underneath it.
Yeah, well, you know what, don't you? We won't discuss that at the moment.
Okay, right.
Proposer for that, the work schedule. Second. Agreed?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right, to resolve to adopt the play equipment policy. Did everybody have a chance to look? Any questions?
I'm presuming the parts that you put in yellow, John, you were questioning as to whether it needs to be in there, because quite frankly, it's just a copy and paste job, isn't it? It's just not relevant. So, yeah, take those out, but everything else is relevant.
I did think it seemed pretty broad, covering quite a lot of bases, so I do agree just removing the highlighted areas. It just condenses it slightly, but it means it's less, it's easier to read. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
A proposer, please? No? Second? All agreed?
Keep trying not to have them all the time.
Well, it's pretty hard to have all these options in the room, isn't it?
It's lovely, yeah.
Right, to resolve to accept the pre-renewal insurance document. Okay,
I don't think we should accept it, I think.
okay, so,
Because some of these costings in here are ridiculous for the rebuild costs for the buildings. I mean, where on earth they got them from, I do not know.
That's something which, it was, for open spaces, it was more the equipment, if everybody was happy.
Yeah, that's what I thought about the equipment, the property bits is not really our bit, is it? But I do agree,
Yeah.
with this, because it's difficult, those sort of buildings put prices on. And the tractor's now gone, hasn't it?
The tractors and Kubota were in some separate
They've got
policies,
separate
so they're
vehicle.
not included in
Yeah.
this. So the playground equipment, when they do the inspection, they give us a free price and quote, so that's, we'll know that in a week or two, or a few weeks' time. So it's really only the mowers and machinery that,
it's covering. Anybody's thoughts? People happy with that cover? Can I have a proposer, please? No, we're not happy with that
Yeah,
cover?
I'm just.
We're only
I'm
dealing
just
with that bit.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking, when you're looking at the machinery, thinking about it logically, I know we've got rid of some bits and pieces, but if we had to replace absolutely everything that we've got in there, would that cover it?
Is because obviously we've got the new hole borer and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, now,
It looked a
we
bit
were
weird.
going to be selling the chipper, but now we're not. And the chipper is an expensive piece of equipment.
Yeah, it seems a bit lean to me.
Put it up then.
Maybe put it up to about 25 or something like that.
I mean, when you break it down, our major bits of equipment at the minute without the vehicles, pruners, hole borer.
chainsaws and all that sort of thing. You've got quite a lot of substantial stuff in there. And when you look on that inventory of what we've actually got, I mean, you've got general contents, which I know is boosting up a little bit, but you've got quite a few key pieces of equipment, and as it appears that there's a lot of stuff, walkabouts in the town at the moment, I think we need to make sure that we have got it fully covered.
Better to be better over than land.
I mean, we're quite lucky with our security within our parameters.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to put it up. Better to be safe than sorry.
You think 25 would?
I think 25 would do it.
Are you happy to go back with that?
Mhm.
So we're not accepting the renewal insurance document?
So secondly, oh, first, no, who's proposing it?
Oh,
There we go.
Thank
Second.
you.
I'll second.
All agreed?
Sorry, can I just clarify? Are we resolving to accept the pre-renewal insurance documents? I thought we were just saying we weren't.
No, we're not.
No.
So we're voting not to accept it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, anybody have any items for discussion, an agenda item request, please?
I've got battlefields in.
Okay, one I want to mention, which Mark spoke to me about, is some sort of plaque or signage for our memorial wall at Foregate, so people actually know what it's for. To try and help encourage the usage of it. An agenda item, please.
Yeah, as a secondary thing to that, I don't know whether it's worth a discussion at that point as well in relation to remembrance and obviously sort of previous veterans. I don't know whether that's worth broaching at that time as well. As in like additional, like the small brass plaques that are on there. Maybe it's something that if we've got somebody that's willing to, you know, sort of like pay for the plaques to go on there for the veterans, it's all like.
Yeah. It's worth discussing. Anybody else got any agenda items? You can always email them in, please, if you think of anything else.
So can we do an update on Holbridge Bank playing field as to where we are with the discussions that we had?
Okay. Right, confirm date and venue of next open spaces meeting, will that be here?
Hope it's next year.
No, I hope it's too. We've got to lay off this year, Steve.
For Christmas Day.
Oh, well. You're right with it. Okay.
So 4 weeks is week beginning the 17th when it's, that's council meeting day. So I don't know if you want to go to the week after, do you? Week beginning 24th.
So you're on about the 24th?
Week beginning the 24th, yeah. And I can't do the 27th. Or 28th.
What about the 26th, which is a Wednesday?
I think that was nails done.
What sharper?
What time?
To suit you, obviously be back at work.
Yeah, I can do any time after 4:30.
Okay. How does that fit with everybody else?
What time's that, sorry, Rachel?
Mark, then do after 4:30, back in term time.
At 4:30 or
Oh,
5 o'clock then?
Yeah, I can do 4:30 if it helps. Yeah.
4:35. Quite happy with the other. I just don't want you rushing.
No, that's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we'll go to the 26th
At
at
4:30.
4:30, please. Thank you very much, all.
Thank you.
Have a good Christmas. Yay.